the NBC News this hour. Police are investigating what's being described as a significant and sustained cyber attack on the website and IT systems of UK retail giant Fleet of Foot. It's believed that customer and employee data, including names, addresses, bank account details, and other commercially sensitive information, has been stolen.
As you may have guessed, that was not a real newsreel. That was a simulated media newsreel, and that's going to be the subject of this video. In particular, I'll be looking at a company called Thales, who have created a patent that's been published to manipulate the real world via simulation. So how did I come to find out about this company? Well, it was quite by chance, as usual when I find things like this. I was looking into iProve, the company that we were told about today, one of the companies I should say, that has been hired by the government or is in partnership with the government to roll out COVID passports. As I continued digging, I discovered that Thales Holdngs was not just in the same line of business as iProve, it was in fact working with the government as well. And not only that, it's working with the NHS. Just to clarify something, the NHS and governments, etc., they do use simulated actors for training purposes. So to teach doctors bedside manner, you can get someone pretending, an actor pretending to be a bereaved parent or something, and the doctor practices, but the patent isn't talking about that. That is one use for simulated reality, but this is something completely different. It's on a huge scale. It's for interaction in the real world and to change our opinion, change our mood on certain things. Before I go into the patent, I want to clarify something else, and that's the use of the word actors. Now, in computers, actors take input and send output and perform functions, and that's different to in simulations. An actor is exactly as we would understand it normally, as someone who performs, who plays a role. Right, let's get on with the patent. The picture on the screen above shows the bibliographic data for the patent in question, and as you can see, the applicants are Thales Holdings UK plc and the inventor is Robert McConaughey. It was filed on the 22nd of November 2018, and look at the date of publication. I immediately thought of the first day of the Pfizer vaccine rollout. It's the 9th of December last year, 2020. With patents that are associated with creations of the mind, there comes an intellectual property right, and I'll just make sure you understand that. Patents are usually about inventions relating to bits of machinery or computer software, but this isn't. This is about manipulation of populations. And this is Thales Holdings intellectual property information. And these are the associated patents. Now on to what the patent's all about. It's a simulated environment which is generated. It could be anything from the outside of a hospital with a queue of ambulances, I've got nothing specific in mind, a riot, a fire and so on. This environment has actors, and like the news bulletin I played at the beginning, the actors can be either real or computer generated. The particular mode of simulation in this case is called socio-ecological. The environment shows people's reactions, emotions or moods associated with the scene being played out. For example, people could be interviewed about their feelings on a riot, an election result. It does this by using data from real life past events. The scene can be updated as it's being played out. The user, or the person or people controlling the simulation, can feed input to the actors for further manipulation. And now this reminded me of the interview with Nurse May Parsons on vaccine rollout day. One of the interviewers said right at the beginning of the interview that nursemaid Parsons was not being fed information, and I'm pretty sure that the majority of viewers hadn't even considered this to be happening.
She's not on IFB, she did an amazing job.
She's not on IFB. IFB is a feeding system, feeding information. Example where I think simulation was used, and it was regarding Prince Charles at last year's WEF. He opened the meeting, and the first picture is the real Prince Charles, and look at his eyes, they're in his head. That sounds funny, but this picture is taken from the WEF, and ignore the little picture in the corner, look at the big picture. His pupil, or his eye, is outside of his head, and I've looked at every possible website that explains if this could be, problems with photography and videos, and having your eye come out of your head wasn't in any of them. The next part of the patent is supported by way of 4 drawings, and they help to explain the steps in which things happen. S101 is the environment which different events can be programmed. Actors are assigned roles complete with behaviours and interactions. The environment can have different types of real-world infrastructures, for example, transport networks, schools, hospitals and churches. Even the economic status of each demographic, so part of the population, characters, can be assigned, which could have relevance to the storyline. Other demographics can be assigned more than one attribute, for example a rich Tory to make a point in perhaps a political article. And I can think of one more recent movement where this could have been executed. It's the Black Lives Matter protests. In fact, Thales on their website even mentions this movement as part of their inclusivity and equality projects. The last part of S101 is called steady state. Now the best way of explaining this is by using the Truman Show as an example. Now if you remember rightly, the Jim Carrey character leaves home at the same time every morning, and as he's driving to work he sees the same woman on a bicycle, the same pedestrians in the same place, and the same cars at traffic lights. Now that simulated world where everything is on repeat is called steady state. S102 is where the action begins. It's where the people in control, the person or people, feed the actors the script. The simulation doesn't have to be a moving picture, it can be graphs, photos, statistics, anything that can sway the population's opinion or change their feelings towards a certain situation. The actors in the simulation can change their script at any time in response to the public's opinion. For example, if we say we really don't want the vaccine, we don't believe it's safe, then they'll roll out a load of statistics to say it is. They'll bring people out to say, oh it's wonderful, I'm 85, I'm 90 and I've just had the jab and everything's fine. It really is that simple to manipulate public opinion. Drawing 2 shows us how the simulated environment is generated, and it's done by using two methods of computer science, and they are data collection and data analysis and machine learning or artificial intelligence. So of course the data searched for has to be relevant to the desired simulated environment, and this data can be collected from open or closed sources. As you can see, drawing 3 shows examples of the types of data that can be collected. It can be from newspapers, TV broadcasts, social media, blogs, in fact anywhere that reflects people's feelings towards the event to be simulated. I'll read you the next bit because there's quite a lot to it. It says the data may be obtained by web crawlers, which may both capture and anonymise opinions and data shared online. In addition, alternatively, embodiments may make use of curated data sets, such as those that may be obtained from commercial data providers and or news and media organisations, for example the BBC, Times newspapers, Reuters, etc. Open source data sets such as government and NGO publish statistics, reports and analysis, for example crime figures, economic indicators, census information, public health statistics and information related to national infrastructure. Data from financial institutions, markets and or exchanges and data obtained by user communities themselves. The data may be training data, operational data, or data obtained from intelligence gathering and surveillance activities. Such data may be available from electronic archives, file systems or databases. In some cases, embodiments may utilize additional pre-processing of data, for example, to digitize handwritten accounts and or records. To put this into context, let's say somebody wrote on Facebook that don't take the vaccine, it's really bad and it's going to kill you. Well, the web crawlers would go out and collect that information, remove the post, and then there's many ways to get the message across that is the opposite of that post. So they could put adverts on that say the vaccine's really good, you should have it. They could make a commercial with people saying, you know, you're really daft, you're going to step outside the door and die if you don't have it. Things like this. So it's about changing people's opinions in different ways by collecting their data, and should I add, without our permission. And all that is explained in picture form in the above drawing. So I'll stop there. I've shown you the main points and how the whole thing works, and quite frankly it didn't shock me as much as the Pope's audience hall did. So we've got Thales Holdngs, a company that works with governments all over the world, militaries and our NHS. It really makes you wonder exactly how much we see on TV, read in papers, is actually real. I think that the real fake news is what we are presented with in mainstream media every day.